Choosing your new driver is always an incredibly exciting time of the year, and I've certainly found that this year. But after the driver and between your longest iron or your first hybrid, where do you go? How many times I see people go for the classic 3-wood and 5-wood and never really use those clubs. It's quite scary, but today I think I've got the perfect setup for the two clubs between my driver and my longest iron, and that line right there is position A. And today we're obviously talking about fairway woods, and not only any fairway woods, the Ping G440 Max range. You can see here I've got a 3-wood, but it's a 3-wood with a bit of a twist, because it is a 3-wood but it has been changed. So I've changed this from a 15 degree up to a 16.5 degree 3-wood, and you might be screaming, well, that's a 4-wood, and yes it is. And I do know that Ping now do have a 4-wood again in their range with this G440 Max fairway wood lineup, and it's something that I had as a junior. I had a 4-wood and a 7-wood, and it was because I got a good gap in. And from the driver down to your next club is a big decision, because how many times you're going to use this maybe into potentially long par 4s or even into par 5s, where again you've got to think, do you use it off the tee? Can you use it off the fairway? Is it a club that is going to be used multiple times? Then it is worth the investment. If you go for a strong 3-wood, maybe a 15 degree 3-wood, it strikes the fear into you off the fairway so you don't use it, and then off the tee, if you're struggling with the driver, it's just as inconsistent. Then for me it's a rather pointless club to have in your bag. But you can see straight away from that first shot with those numbers that I put on screen, this club is going around about 260 yards, so carrying around about 255 to 260 and running out just over 265, which for me is a good number to have, because if I'm going for potentially those long par 4s, those 460 yard par 4s, or even those par 5s that I'm trying to get on in 2, and this does tick boxes. And again, they're very easy to launch, very consistent, and straight away there it's another fairway hit just to the right of the first shot. And let's look at those numbers on screen now. You can see again, carried 248 and ran out to 262. And this is a long par 4 here. We've got 440 yards, stroke index 3 here at Lindrick. But if I hit drive, it potentially runs out and goes into the trees. Now we're into the summer and it's firm and fast. And this club can come in handy on a few holes around here, which is exactly why it could go in my bag. So guys, obviously this part of your golf bag is something potentially you need to think about, because how many times people do get this wrong, and if we get this a little bit better, then we're certainly going to help you lower your scores and enjoy your golf that little bit more. But let's talk about the Ping G440 Max range. So we know they've changed a few things. We do have the carbon fly wrap in there, so that is saving weight, so it can be distributed a little bit better throughout the head to get even more forgiveness than we normally expect from Pings. We also have a taller face. So one big thing from Pings, they were always very shallow down behind the golf ball, something that for high handicappers, mid handicappers, even low single figure handicappers did scare you into maybe potentially hitting it on the top. And they've also slimmed out the weight at the back of that club so it sits a little bit flusher to the ground, which will give you a little bit more confidence on those fairways. So what woods have you got in your bag? What are you looking at? But let's see now what other club I've got in the golf bag, but also where I'm going to use this quite a lot. So as we come down here again, you can see this fairway kick shoot down towards those trees, and that's where a driver would potentially put me into trouble, although of course in absolutely fantastic condition at the moment. First shot was certainly the Tiger line. It has just held up there in that semi-rough, but again leaves me a reasonable shot into that green, and it takes out the potential to be in those trees. So certainly a club that is perfect for this 7th hole. So the second club we have in the bag from that Ping Max range is a 7-wood. 7-wood, 21 degrees and same shaft straight through these clubs. So this is a club for me. If we've gone with that 4-wood, which I have obviously altered that 3-wood, and like we mentioned on the tee, you can now obviously get a 4-wood as part of the setup, and that was very much the setup I had when I bought my Ping G10s back in the day, or my parents bought my Ping G10s. So certainly something to consider, and this is what you need to think about your golf course. What kind of shots do you have? What kind of woods do you need? Is a hybrid in your golf bag? Do you have a 21 degree hybrid? You don't get on with it? Is a 7-wood another good option? And this is where, obviously, being a member of a golf club now, I'm trying to find the perfect setup at the top end of that bag. Yes, we've sorted the driver out after the fitting at SGGT, but then when I leave myself this shot right here, 230 yards to this par 5, do I really want to be trying to go all out on a 4-iron, or can I get a 7-wood working nicely down there? And straight away there, nice high launch, drawing ever so slightly towards the left-hand side of that green. It'll be very interesting to see where that is down there. Obviously straight away there, does feel good off the face. It's nice and solid there. We got the launch straight away, and it is a little bit breezy out here today, but that's still a club for me that I'd be happy to use in this breeze. Let's say it was a little bit more into, as opposed to off that right. If I go and try and launch this a little bit lower, that's what I like with a 7-wood. You can see there probably a third of the flight, and it was very easy for me there to put that ball back into my ball position a little bit and get that ball launching lower. And even if that was straight into it, is coming a little bit into the breeze now, then that's a shot that I'm comfortable in playing. And this is why a club like this has been in my golf bag for a long time. Again, we need to talk about that technology in these clubs. We see we've got that carbon fly wrap on there. We know that Ping have changed a lot of things. They've changed the sound, because that was something that everybody's always mentioned when you talk about Ping, is, oh, sometimes it sounds a little bit tinny, a little bit loud, but not with these latest woods. Another nice penetrating ball flight, just moving left, but will be left side of the green, and a nice interaction with the turf. Two good options, but let's see where else these are used from with some numbers. Let's start to see how they fit a gap in my golf bag and how they could potentially fit a gap in yours. Now, a lot of people are put off by 7-woods because they think you can't play with them in the wind, the ball's going to go too high, it's going to launch you up there, and we're not going to get the distance consistency that we want. So you often maybe go to a utility iron, you maybe go to a hybrid, but we are going to get plenty of forgiveness from this 7-wood. And for me, I've already shown on the previous shot into that par 5 that you can also obviously change that ball flight. We're into the breeze here. We've got a par 4, 316 yards, and for me this is a club that can put me into place because this green is surrounded by bunkers. So going with that driver, or potentially going with that 4-wood, could put me into trouble. But into the breeze here, I'm still going to knock that down. And straight away there, a nice mid-fly to draw just down that left-hand side. And numbers-wise, this is why, for me, it's a good club in the bag. 230 carry, running out to 238. So 4-wood was going just over 260. This comes in nicely at that 230 to 240 number. And my 4-iron is around about 210 to 220. So what I'm trying to do is find those perfect gaps, and something that I'm confident with. Starting just down the right, drawing back again, and even in the breeze there, that's popped up, but it'd be interesting to see how far that's gone, because here it's saying that that's still carried 225 and gone 233. So interesting there, even from one that popped up there, I've still got a good distance, I've still got it down there in play, and I've got a good shot into that green. But let's see how the 4-wood launches now off the fairway. Can we get a reasonable ball flight like that? Can we be consistent with a couple of shots? But get in those comments below, guys. What setup have you got? And also, do you want to see me go and get fitted for a 7-wood and a 4-wood down at SGGT? Potentially see which brand is the best. I mean, so far, these pings have felt absolutely fantastic. It's something that I've known, again, from my junior days. But are there some other clubs out there? Should I be going Cobra and going similar or the same makeup as my driver? Is that something that we should do, or is that just a little bit of a myth, or just something that we want to do so the set looks nice and symmetrical or looks nice and uniform through the golf bag? So it'll be interesting. I've got plenty of fairwoods to test in coming weeks from all brands, but should I go and get that fitting and see which one is the perfect brand for me when it comes to between the driver and my 4-iron. So guys, as we come down this hole, you can see the second one just held up out on the right. Didn't draw back as much as we hoped, but it's in the semi-rough and we've got a fantastic angle into that flag. But you can see first shot did just hold that fairway, so we can see that it is that 10-15 yards further, but that from a mid-strike that did launch a little bit higher into the breeze has done exceptionally well. So I've got 250 yards into this green straight into the breeze, and now this is the big test. How can this 4-wood do off the fairway? Am I having to manipulate it? I'm going to say not, because I'm used to having a 4-wood, and this is something now, because I've given it that extra loft, I don't feel like I have to help this golf ball into the air. And this is why a lot of people have 3-woods in their golf bag that are just collecting dust, because this lie from here to that green would strike the fear of God into you. You would probably maybe get your hybrid out or a 6-iron and just move it up there a little bit. And this is exactly what we don't want when we go after your driver in your golf bag. And straight away there, a fantastic ball flight, launched nice and high, nice and penetrating, and that is right up there on the green straight at that flag. It surprised myself there because that felt fantastic. I didn't feel like I had to do much, but certainly that face being a little bit taller, it sits a little bit better behind the golf ball. And I've always been a ping fan, because where I'm from in the UK as a junior, most of the times you would go to Gainsborough, you would get fitted 4 pings, but I've not really had many pings in the bag over the last couple of years. But these are going to be a huge contender to go into my golf bag. So a little bit left, but still a mid-flight there. And that's pin high, just left of the green. But after all, how many times are you expecting to hit the green from here? Tour professionals from here, even they wouldn't be expected to hit there, but that's a good distance, both looking pin high, both had good ball flights. The left, unfortunately, is my fault. But guys, what do you want to see me test next? Do you want to see me go and get a fitting? But I think these Ping Max G440s are going to take some beating, because that with a 4-wood is certainly quite impressive.